Hi, this is Christ in Fashion. I'm Faith Johosn, your host. Today I'll be telling you a little bit about myself and this series and what God is doing through this series. I'm so proud to be able to share and express this series with you. God has really got an amazing vision through sharing touch points with different people within the sector through fashion. The touch points that fashion has within entertainment, comedy and the creative industries, and how he uses fashion in order to share and minister and to connect to his children. My journey through fashion is starting from education. I went to fashion school, and that was where God really used me to begin my journey within the industry. I've been working within the industry for over 20 years and I'm still very, very young, and I'm so proud of how God has used me through this journey. Initially, I started off within education learning the technical skills of how to really craft fabric and material together. And so through that, I've been able to use opportunities such as training to connect to other people. So I founded an organisation which is called Caramel Rock. It's a fashion and creative arts charity. And the organisation is all about connecting to local people through the community and teaching them technical skills within fashion. I've had the pleasure and opportunity to also share and minister to people within the workplace. I've really had to be bold, but also be sensitive to be able to navigate how to be professional in a working environment, but also share the goodness of God. How God's values can be interpreted through fashion, and how through his boldness I'm able to connect with other people. Caramel Rock started in 2008 and it's been an amazing journey going through. And so through that, I've been able to connect with all the people that will be seen throughout the series. Through this series, we talk about the touch points of fashion and comedy. We talk about fashion and hair and beauty, and how the varied people through this series uses fashion to build their personal brand, style, but most importantly, how God uses these mechanisms to connect to his children. Over the past 10 years, I've really had many testimonies of my own of how God has used me through fashion. And it's really through this series to inspire other people to speak up, come forward, and to use their craft, skills, creativity and their culture to most importantly use it for the kingdom of God. You see, the Bible teaches me you seek first the kingdom of God and everything will be added onto you. And so with that consciousness in mind, it's really important for God's children in the church who are creative, who love fashion, who love style, to be able to use that for his kingdom. To be able to use our kind of fashion sense and flair to give him the glory. I think the fashion sector is very about self-glorification. I think the music industry can also be kind of all about self-glorification. But actually, when we learn scriptures and develop our teachings, we're able to use our creativity in order to navigate through our faith. To tell you about myself is really to start from my church and the spiritual teachings that I've learned over the years. And it's really understanding how these teachings are impacting me spiritually and how it's then being applied to my everyday life. Our lifestyle and how we live on a day-to-day basis is so important. Our lifestyle through fasting, our lifestyle through prevailing prayer, and through that I've been able to continuously grow my spiritual walk with God. And so through that growth, my creativity and my fashion and the work that I do within the sector has continued to grow. Through running an organisation, I've certainly had some trials and some tests, and through all of that I've had many great testimonies. I've had opportunities where I've created collections because I am a designer by craft, although working and running a fashion charity. See, one of my favourite accessories is my Jesus necklace, which I have on. And even with a piece like this, It's a public statement to say, I am a child of God. I think fashion certainly can be used as a tool of evangelism to share a message, and that's definitely something key that I love to do. This series is really about how God is navigating within the creative industries, and for each person through the series all have different places or depth within their spiritual walk. And so through this series, there'll be a variation of people that will all connect with each and every person. And so through that connection, then each person can be enlightened of the word and of God's goodness and how he navigates within the creative industries.
Origin, purpose, and the future. 3 important words to unravel your essence. It's about discovering who you are, the reason for your being, and where you're heading to. Every day is a voyage of unearthing new things, yet discovery doesn't have a final destination on earth. The most important questions are: where are you heading to? What are you aiming for? Understanding will reach its limit someday. Motivational speeches will be over one day. All that seems most important will become non-essentials later on. Until then, we have these 3 things to lead us aright: faith, hope, and love. And the best of the 3 is love. Love never dies. Love never fades away. Trust steadily in God. Hope unswervingly, but most importantly, love extravagantly. God is love. loveworlduk.org/on-demand.
God is important in building a brand because he should be the foundation of anything that any of us should do, because he's certainly at the foundation of anything that I do. God is an amazing strategist and has the answers to all that we can ever need or do. And so through that, God has really been able to teach me and show me where to find the relevant resources and where to find the relevant information in order to build a personal brand. My personal brand is function and built around Christ. That is the most important thing to me. Of course, understanding and appreciating that in certain environments, I have a specific message and the right message for that specific environment or audience. But most importantly, I never take my Jesus necklace off. It's always on. And so even if I'm, out speaking or out sharing a variation of stories, that people will always see that I identify with God. And Jesus Christ is number one. My personal brand is a continued growth. I think my brand is still growing, but my brand is never and will never be about myself. And it's always about how I express the goodness of God, or how I express his strength, or how I express his goodness, because it's not I, but Christ that liveth within me. I think our walk with God is eternal, and so although we're navigating through earth, we are kingdom men and women. We are spiritual beings, and so our life is eternal. A phase here on earth, and then we will go into heaven and continue our walk. I'm very much kingdom minded, so everything I do here is all a result of pleasing God and navigating then in heaven. And so it's important to fulfill God's calling in this season and in this time. I'm being used within the creative and fashion sector. And as I enter into 40s and 50s, things may change, but it's all in relation to ensuring that I align with God's calling for my life. The impact that I have had within my walk of faith and within my professional environment is really being around inspiring young people. I'll never forget, so I have a story where we had a group of 7 young girls, and in that season I was just so on with evangelism. We were running some fashion and creative activities, and I was sharing the gospel and just sharing scriptures and sharing the goodness of God and how God has shaped me. And the more I shared, the more they wanted to learn, and the more they wanted to learn. But what got them connected to me was fashion. But that was only the starting point. And the more they wanted, the more God could then release to them, and the more depth that they wanted, the more God could then release to them. And it was a season that lasted about 2 years, and so these 7 young females, I just continued on a weekly basis, just sharing and sharing and sharing. And they then went on to kind of start and develop their own spiritual walk with God, and it's really been amazing to be able to have fashion as a touch point and a starting point, and then people then realizing that actually that's just the beginning, and if they want more, that actually underneath that Christ is what's there. And so I've been so grateful to be able to navigate through life using fashion in the creative industries, and I'm so humbled that God has chosen me and allowed me to navigate and has taught me. But this has been an ongoing walk for, running Caramel Rock has been running for 13 years, and that's a 13 years level of commitment to God. And so when He blesses you with a little, He will continue to increase that a little bit more and a little bit more. And it's been an amazing journey. So back in 2008, there was a Youth Dragon's Den at the time. Before starting the organisation, I was a cheerleader. So I used to do cheerleading, and the cheerleading organisation was actually run by a reverend and his wife. So it was a Christian founded cheerleading organisation. Bit strange and unique, but God, He always has a plan. And so that was actually what brought me to Christ, was the cheerleading. The cheerleading was based at a church, and we used to train and compete and travel. And the director of the cheerleading organisation used to teach us about scriptures and God through the cheerleading, teaching us about commitment and the love of God and Christ, all through cheerleading. And so through the cheerleading and from the cheerleading, I then came up with the idea of Caramel Rock. And so before leaving the cheerleading organisation, the director then mentored me to start Caramel Rock. And so using the same principles of using fashion as a tool to kind of connect with the disconnected, and using the fashion to kind of teach scripture and Bible and reach people in order to share the goodness of God. And so started Caramel Rock in 2008 and was just running it 1 day a week. I got into university at the time. I got into Central St Martin's in 2008. Everything I was learning at university, I was bringing it back into my local community and teaching young people. There was a Youth Dragon's Den at UEL and got a small community grant, and from that grant got all the materials needed to run the activities. And I've been running with it ever since. And so it's really been an amazing journey through running fashion shows, accredited programs, and all of our provisions, which can be found on the Caramel Rock website. And the name Caramel Rock actually also came from the Bible. So where the prophet Elijah, when he performed one of his greatest miracles on Mount Carmel. And so the word Carmel comes from the word Carmel and represents a place of miracle where people can come and receive a transformational difference in their life. The word rock was when Jesus said to Peter, "This is the rock you will build my church on." And so the rock represents a foundation, a strong foundation where people can come, learn and have a strong foundation where they may not have it in other areas of their lives. And so together it's Miracle Rock. And so that's where we have Caramel Rock and where Caramel Rock came from. In the first year of running Caramel Rock, the first 2 years of running Caramel Rock, it was under the umbrella of a community church. And then in 2010, so that was from 2008 to 2010, in 2010 we got our own charity status. And so it's really been an amazing journey, just having kind of spiritual mentorship and guide and business and strategic mentorship and guide in order to navigate the two and do great exploits here on earth.
National and international news. Love World UK bringing you the best and first-hand information on demand, on air, on radio and on the go. 24/7, we give you a lineup of great programs, inspirational programs, top stories, breaking news and exclusives. Produced locally and sourced from different regions of the world, free and at your fingertips, every time and everywhere. Log on online today. From Love World UK studios in London to the rest of the world. www.loveworlduk.org.
The way I find myself as a creative is really being through hard work, dedication and commitment. So being a creative, I've put a lot of educational commitment in doing a BA, an MA and a PhD in order to develop myself, develop my research acumen and really understand what it means to me as a creative and navigating in the marketplace. I take my fashion business and the sector extremely seriously, and God takes his kingdom extremely seriously. And so at this junction in my life, this is where and what I'm called to do. And I have continued to develop myself, develop my understanding so that I can deliver and execute as best as I possibly can. God only deals with number one, and God only deals with the best. And so that's why I applied to the best institutions to get the best education within the fashion and creative sector. So it takes a lot of commitment, learning, doing courses and research. In addition to that, I've had opportunities to attend different events and network with like-minded people in order for God to be able to open doors for me. In addition to that, it has taken immense, I cannot repeat enough, prayer, continued prayer. That is probably one of my biggest emphasis is the lifestyle of prayer. I think through the lifestyle of prayer, God has been able to really spiritually navigate me and move me. I'm never in the wrong place at the wrong time. Any project, it may seem like a delay, but it's not a delay because God is always on time. And so in addition to that, my spiritual lifestyle includes fasting. And so I cannot emphasize enough the importance of fasting. And so all of these kind of fundamental teachings has really been the pillar and the core of how I've been able to then navigate creatively. In addition, I think giving is so important, and sowing, continued sowing is so important. It's a spiritual act, and giving and sowing your seeds is so important to me. And these are three key spiritual lifestyle things that I feel is important, and so because of doing those things, it's impacted on me creatively. I've been open to and dropped, some amazing ideas. And so that's only come through my spiritual lifestyle. And so I think any creative has to increase on their spiritual lifestyle. Then you'll also increase on your creative abilities. So it's a mixture of kind of practical doing, education, and then the godly spiritual side of building my creative flair. As a young child, I think I had a really maybe strange style and dress sense. And so, I used to wear my school trousers, but then I would have like chains on my school trousers. Or when I used to do the cheerleading, I would always remix the uniform. So we would have to travel in squad t-shirts and our training kits. It's all about uniformed and unity, but I would always switch it up. I would always kind of change something. I went through all forms of phases of different dress senses and dress styles until I probably got to adulthood and really deepen my consecration to God. And so through deepening my consecration to God, I think all of the unnecessary stuff kind of fell away and really kind of came into my elegance. And so some may say I have a really elegant style, probably Monday to Friday, and then on the Saturday I'm very casual. So I do love a just tracksuit, casual relaxation. So my style is very kind of maybe elegant with a little bit of twist. And so I do like to find pieces which is maybe unique and funky. So one of the events that I've had has been through London Fashion Week. And so kind of being a creative within London, I think it's such an amazing thing and a place to be. Through that event, we live streamed and did a live exhibition. We had a variation of the young people that we work with that stream their creative work, their collections and their design craft portfolios. It was such an amazing event. I had so much fun. We had a range of volunteers and staff that all participated. Through the event that we did during London Fashion Week, we also had industry speakers within the industry talking about their journey through fashion, what it means to get into fashion, and how to develop and grow a fashion brand. The project was in partnership and working with a collaboration of fashion businesses across the globe and across the Commonwealth. It was such an amazing experience, and we certainly look forward to more fashion shows and fashion events. In this series, I'll be talking with a variation of people, the role that fashion plays within their career and the priority Christ has within fashion. I'm so excited to take this journey through this series. We have some great industry experts within entertainment, culture, hair and beauty. It's really been a great experience receiving this vision from God and really developing and going through and executing this series. No matter your sector or industry, or despite your title, you're first and foremost a Christian. And that is the real purpose of this series, sharing our stories, sharing our priorities and our beliefs and our values as we navigate and express Christ in fashion. Until next time, keep Christ at the center of it all.